Hello there. My name is Jasom Jensai, and welcome to this stream. How are you? In this stream, we will be discussing chapter 11 of The Mandalorian. Is it the best episode? Is it just a great episode? How does it compare? All the things in that episode. We're also going to be talking about the coolest lightsaber hilts, and also like all the kinds of lightsabers. For example, like double-bladed lightsabers, curved lightsabers, all those kinds. And then the third topic is how skilled is Count Dooku? Obviously, he's pretty skilled. He's a lot of people's favorite character. Well, maybe not favorite. Well, he's probably a lot of people's favorite. A lot of people really like him. He's a super popular character. But how powerful is he? He's obviously overshadowed by Darth Sidious, but he's pretty powerful. But before we get to all that, the question of the stream. So this is basically, if you answer the question correctly, you get 10 points. You only get one guess, and you can't look it up. I'm forgetting the third thing that I'm supposed to remember. But anyways, the question of this stream is, where does Thrawn first meet a Jedi? So that's like, what planet does he meet the Jedi on that he meets? And it's the first Jedi that he meets. So that's the question. If you get that right, 10 points. So if you know that, leave that in the chat. But I don't want to make you guys wait too long, so let's just get into chapter 11. So I really liked this episode. I'm just gonna go through like a general overview of it. I really liked it. It was a really good episode, but I would say not quite a great episode. It's close, in my opinion. And most of the reviews I've seen say that this is like the best chapter in the season, or some even say the best chapter in all of The Mandalorian. I don't know. I didn't like it that much. But anyways, yeah. It was a good episode, though. Like, the opening was cool and had a kind of a funny ending where he flies in with his ship, and then he breaks at the last second and just tilts sideways, and he gets pulled out of the water. That was pretty cool. And then the atmosphere of that whole, like, water place, of the town kind of thing there, that whole, like, setting, I don't know, it just looked good and sounded good, and was kind of believable too. I liked seeing Quarren and Mon Calamari. That was cool. But that's just more of the boring parts. Obviously, the best part, at least in my opinion, the best part, is when Bo-Katan first shows up. Mando's like, you're like, how is he gonna get out of this? They've got these like spears and they're poking down at him through like he's got his armor, he's a Mandalorian, but that's a pretty sticky situation. And then Bo-Katan shows up, and I could like see like on my first time watching, I like saw through the grate, and I was like, wait, that's a Mandalorian. Wait, that's Bo-Katan, and it was like the coolest realization, at least of the episode. Yeah, I think seeing the Darksaber was cooler in my opinion. But yeah, that was one of the coolest reveals, the coolest ways to reveal it. Like I wouldn't think of that, but it was cool. Yeah, so that entire scene there was cool. They show up, they've got like the wrist mounted blasters, they've got of course the normal blasters, some grapple lines, or like those, I don't know what they're called, the strings they shoot at their wrists, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was a cool battle. Yeah, that whole scene was cool. And then, of course, when they take off their helmets, that was also cool. I love how they call back to him meeting with Cobb Vanth, or rather, use Cobb Vanth as foreshadowing for when they take off the helmets, and they use, like, the same sound, and maybe it's not the same sound. They had some, like, movie trick to remind us of it. But anyways, yeah, it was super awesome to see that. And finally get an explanation to why he can't take off his helmet. And yeah, I think there's some really interesting things they could do with that. Super cool. The one thing, the biggest criticism I would say is that it's a little bit short, and the credit for this idea of a scene goes to Thor Skywalker, who you should definitely subscribe to and watch, because he's a great YouTuber. But basically, he suggested that they should have put, I should say, a scene in between when Bo-Katan like first meets up with Mando and the second time, and that scene would be kind of to explain what Mando is thinking about that, and you could do that through him talking to Baby Yoda. That scene would give a little bit of a breather in between that action scene and give more of an explanation as to why he acts the way he does in the rest of the episode. But of course, hindsight is 2020. They they probably didn't know exactly what it was going to turn out like when they were making it. So there's no like. What I'm trying to say is I don't mean suggesting this as an offense to the storytellers. They're excellent storytellers, but I think it would have been improved by that. And that's Thor Skywalker's idea. I just think it's a great idea. So yeah, after that, the episode is pretty good. They go and they obviously have that action scene where they take out the stormtroopers inside the Gozanti cruiser. And that whole thing was cool. I'm gonna talk more about that later. But one thing I really liked about that was when they get to the like weapons room, and Bo-Katan basically tells them, "Yeah, sorry, we tricked you. You're gonna have to help us take over the rest of the ship if you want the information." And it might seem a little bit out of character because Bo-Katan is, well, she's a Mandalorian, like she seems honorable, but it's a great thing because it's showing that Mando, like his particular clan, the Children of the Watch, not clan, sect, I don't know, the Children of the Watch, they are more traditionalist, not just because they wear their helmets, but because they show more honor, like they're just more honorable, like, yeah, they're just more honorable than the other Mandalorians because of their values. But then, and after she basically says, "I'm breaking the deal with you," she says, "This is the way." I'm assuming she's kind of like making fun of Children of the Watch for being so, I guess, honorable. I don't know. I wish there was a more neutral word for honorable because it's not necessarily always a good thing to be honorable. Like, it's always good, but there are some situations where it's not in the best interest of everybody. Or like, yeah, you probably know what I mean. Like Obi-Wan tricking the Separatists by pretending to be, by pretending to surrender. I mean, technically, that's probably not the best thing, but it's a situation where you could say, "Oh, he was right to do that," even though it's not the honorable thing. But anyways, it shows that the Children of the Watch are more honorable, but then later, after everything, Bo-Katan tells him that that they'll like remember his bravery. And then she says, "This is the way." Showing him that although the other Mandalorians aren't, they take off their helmets and they don't hold to their word as strongly, but they are still honorable and brave. They're still Mandalorians. And the way Mando, or Din Djarin, we should probably start calling him that so we don't get confused. At least we probably won't get confused for a while. But anyways, Din Djarin says, "This is the way," in a way that makes me think he's understanding that message that, yes, although they aren't quite as honorable and they take off their masks and they don't follow the creed, they might treat foundlings the same, they might not, but they are still Mandalorians and they're still honorable and brave. Yeah. So those two scenes together are, second to Bo-Katan's intro, are my favorite in the episode. Yeah. So on to the action in this episode. So it's awesome to see 4 Mandalorians just kicking butt. just super cool. Like seeing Mando take out in chapter 3, seeing Mando take out all those stormtroopers was cool. But now we got 4 Mandalorians. Super cool. But the problem that I think I have with the action in this one is it's stuff we've seen before. Like it's not exactly the same, but it's a lot of the stuff we've seen before. For example, we've seen Mando take out a bunch of stormtroopers going through hallways and just taking them out in chapter 3. This just has more people at a time in brighter rooms and stuff. But the other difference is in that he uses his fists, he uses his blaster, he uses his shock rifle, he doesn't use it as a rifle, but he uses it as a shocker, as like a stun baton. He uses his flamethrower. I don't remember for sure, but he probably uses his like grapple hook, or not hook, line, string, whatever. Yeah, he just uses all of his stuff. And in this one, they use bombs and blasters and a tiny little knife. That's about it. Like, oh, they use the grapple strings when they attack the Quarren, but not against the Empire. So it's just kind of stuff we've already seen before. Yeah. And one thing about that is, or a specific thing I would have suggested if like I'd been writing the story, is instead of Mando running towards the stormtroopers when he's got the 2 bombs and he's running towards them at the very end, instead of doing that, he should have used his jetpack because it's faster, so it tactically makes sense. It's more Mandalorian, so it like I don't know, reflects his character more. And 3, it looks cooler because flying is cooler than running. That was my opinion. So, although running is pretty cool. But yeah, flying is cooler than running, especially for a Mandalorian. So I would suggest that in hindsight, but it was still a great action. Yeah. What did you think of the action? Do you completely disagree? Is it like super unique that we got to see like 4 Mandalorians? Is that a super big deal? The yellow bullets, that's a cool. I just like how one thing I want to just say, I'm kind of rambling a bit, but one thing I just want to say is I really like how they took pretty much every element from the from the TV shows and put it into live action. One thing that they didn't do, that would go back to my previous points, is the little shield thing that Bo-Katan has a lot. Like the energy shield that she has on her gauntlets. A super cool device, but she doesn't use it, and I think that would have helped a lot with showing a variety of tools at the Mandalorian's disposal, which of course makes the combat more interesting because you have more ways to take down people, more combinations of things you can do. And yeah, Mando has been doing the TV show has been doing a great job of that, but in this episode I think it was kind of a bit bland, but still really awesome. Because 4 Mandalorians, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, so one of the reasons I think this is seen as such a good episode is because of how it impacts the plot. We see Bo-Katan, we hear that Ahsoka's gonna come in, and somewhere soon. Yeah, and then there's also, where's my list? Yeah, we see the Children of the Watch, so why Mando keeps his helmet on. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that affect this story. But there's not. The problem with that is that's great, but it's no replacement for this story. So you can like this episode for that stuff, but I just feel like it's not the best episode because it's lacking in other areas. One of the most primary ones being just the blandness of the action, which makes it sound like really terrible action. But I want to reiterate, it is great action. I loved it, but not top tier. Like Chapter 9 was really good. super cool episode. I think this one, or chapter 9, was slightly better than this one. Just a little bit. And that's mostly because of the variety of tools they use, and also the Tusken Raider music was super cool. And just seeing more of Tusken Raiders. Tusken Raiders are awesome. Yeah, but then of course my favorite episode is Chapter 8. So good, and I think the reason Chapter 8 is better is it's got better comedy. There's more creative action, at least a little bit. Like the jetpack where he jetpacks up and then shoots onto the back of the TIE fighter with his grapple hook. That was a cool scene. And the other thing is, this episode connects more to the plot of Star Wars, but I feel like Chapter 8 connected more to the plot of specifically The Mandalorian. So this one brought in Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano, and that's great. But the other one brought in the Darksaber, which is connected to The Mandalorian. I suppose Bo-Katan is connected to the Mandalorians. But it also has character development. It has Mando learning what his quest is for Baby Yoda. It has them returning to Navarro, meeting up with Grief Karga and Cara Dune. It has IG-11 return. Well, that was technically in the last one. You know what I mean? It's the other thing is it's a direct sequel. Like 7 and 8 are designed to be watched back to back. Whereas this one is, I guess you could say it's designed to be watched back to back with the previous one, but that's in the same way that Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 were designed to be watched back to back, and Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. It's not quite as much of a cliffhanger from Chapter 2, in my opinion. So yeah, what did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Is it the best episode? Is it the best episode of the season? So far, of course. From what it sounds like, we're gonna get some great episodes soon. I mean, that's just speculation, but I would not be surprised if they're pretty awesome. Yeah, so what did you think of this episode of The Mandalorian? Tell me in the chat. All right, so the next segment is all about lightsabers. And I love lightsabers. They're awesome. Just swords are awesome, but laser swords, those are even more awesome. So yeah. So this is all about the hilts of lightsabers, though. So lightsaber blades are pretty similar. Like the Darksaber is special. Windu's is pretty special. Obviously we got white lightsabers. Yeah, a lot of special ones, but mostly the hilts are always unique. The blade, not so much. So, first up, before I talk about specific hilts, I want to talk about types of hilts. So curves, doubles, all that sort of thing. So let's start with just the single bladed. So the single one is just like a normal sword, right? It's kind of, I don't know, iconic. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not like a special or unique one, but it's kind of steady, or I don't know, a bit humble. It's very reliable. That's the word. So I think those are my favorite ones, is just single blade ones. Actually, there is one I like better. Yeah, I do like that kind better. I didn't thought about that before. But I do like one kind better than the standard. But the standard is pretty cool in my opinion. Even though it's not super unique or super creative, it's just a good, reliable weapon. It's elegant. Let's move on to double bladed. So, seeing double bladed, that must have been awesome. I'm too young to remember that. But double bladed lightsabers are awesome, even if it's not seeing it for the first time in theaters in The Phantom Menace. Which, by the way, Duel of the Fates is so cool. Awesome song. John Williams is awesome. Tell me in the chat what your favorite John Williams song is. So yeah, double bladed lightsabers are awesome. You get a lot more combinations of moves. You get less like stabs, less precision, more of a like sweeping slashes, that sort of thing. But because you have two blades, you can switch from attacking from the top right to bottom left a lot quicker. So you can, and also fakes are probably a lot easier to do with those. Again, for the same reason, you can just switch where you're attacking so much easier. And the other thing is you can do like flourishes are a lot more useful for creating space, just getting your opponent away from you when you don't really have the time to like plan out your next slash, get it to the right spot. You just kind of throw your blades everywhere and hope it knocks them back, which it usually does. And of course, Darth Maul is just such a awesome like fighter to see, because of his just the way he moves around. He's very much like a warrior or a predator or that sort of thing. He's like a hunter. He's very intimidating with his lightsaber combat. And that just because he represents or I should say, because he was the first person to wield a double-bladed lightsaber, he represents double-bladed lightsabers, and because he is such a great, like Ray Park is such a good choreographer, double-bladed lightsabers get a great name, and they're always awesome to see because they always play off of that idea that double-bladed lightsabers are, much like Darth Maul, very warrior-like. And so then there's also other people like Pong Grell. He's cool because he has two double-bladed lightsabers. That's pretty awesome. Just his whole fighting style is very unique. Who else has a double-bladed? Cal Kestis, that's an option. Here's the thing about Cal Kestis. So, and this is also a thing about lightsaber colors, is sure, pink and cyan and those colors are canon, but there's technically none of them in canon. Cal Kestis' lightsaber is a single-bladed blue lightsaber. Like, technically, that's the official canon. It's a video game, so it's kind of you can play however you want, and they have those options. But technically, he has a single-bladed one. So when I say Cal Kestis has a double blade, technically that's wrong, but you can do double-bladed with him. Oh, the Inquisitors. Wow, I didn't even think of that. Their lightsabers are very unique. Let's just go into Inquisitor lightsabers. Those are crazy. Like, the one criticism I have of their design is they're single-handed. Like, it'd be kind of difficult to use two hands. And if you do, you're not going to have much leverage because your hands are going to be so close together. It's not the worst, but it's just something to note, and it's something that I like in my weapons is a pretty large handle, so I can have a lot of leverage. Like a double-bladed lightsaber, just using one blade, that'd be fine. Clearly Darth Maul thinks it's fine. But a lot of people, that'd be too big. But I'm the other way. I like large handles. So yeah, it's got a small handle, but you don't really need a lot of strength when you're wielding a helicopter, which that's basically what it is. And in the end of season 2, they even fly with them, which I hate that, but fine, it's canon. Oh well. Yeah, so those lightsabers are awesome, very unique, and I think it's cool that all the Inquisitors have one. It kind of takes away their uniqueness, especially when you consider that there's more of those than like double-bladed lightsabers. Unless you count Legends. I'm sure there's a lot of double-bladed lightsabers in Legends. Like, I can think of like 3 more from Legends, and that's just barely off the top of my head. So yeah, what else is there? There's like short lightsabers, like Ahsoka's yellow lightsaber, or greenish yellow, and Yoda's lightsaber. Those are cool. I wouldn't use one. I like long blades. They give me more reach, which is always really good for me. I suppose not always in a cramped spot, but then again, you just point your blade more towards your opponent. Yeah, I really like long blades. Reach is one of the most valuable things in combat, which is why stance is so important. That and stability. But anyways, short lightsabers, super cool. Yoda looks so cool with a short lightsaber. Like, I'm so glad they made short lightsabers. And Ahsoka also looks cool. Yeah, super cool. Curved lightsabers, they're interesting. I haven't tried anything like a curved lightsaber in, like, not real combat, but, like, pretend real combat. So I don't know how well it would work. I would think that you wouldn't be able to get much power on it without sacrificing, like, the curve. You'd have to, like, if you have two hands on it, one of your hand is going to be farther up, and it's not going to have as much of a curve. But that curve allows you to, like, point at your opponent more. I don't know. I guess I don't know what its advantages are, but it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so that's all of, like, the various types, but each lightsaber is different. So I'm just gonna go over two lightsabers I really one type. I'll talk about that later. Yeah. So, yeah. So I'll just go over two lightsabers I really like, and then my own lightsaber, which I designed. So the first lightsaber is Qui Gon Jinn's lightsaber. So that picture has, like, a weird flat thing. Like, right behind the button, it's a little flat. But the reason I like Qui Gon Jinn's lightsaber is because of its simplicity. I just think it's super cool that he uses a lightsaber that's so, like, basic. It's just like a silver cylinder with that, like, black, grippy thing, and those grips look super comfortable. Yeah, it just looks like a really comfortable, simple, utilitarian lightsaber to use. And it's got a green blade. That's always nice. But yeah, we're talking about hilts. It's a great hilt. Very simple. That's why I like it. The next one is Kylo Ren's lightsaber. And this one, I don't like the hilt design, but I like the crossguards. Crossguards are extremely valuable. Maybe you don't want the one pointing towards yourself in a lightsaber, because if you hit yourself with a crossguard, like, nothing's gonna happen. But if you hit yourself with a crossguard made out of lightsaber, that's gonna, like, cut off your hand. So maybe only have the one, but then it looks dumb. So I don't know. Maybe just have, like, a really long handle so you can kind of have a bit of room in between your hand and the crossguard. I don't know, but I guess you could make a crossguard out of, like, Beskar or some other lightsaber resistant material. That'd be cool. But yeah, crossguards are super underrated. It's kind of easy to hit someone's hands if they don't have a crossguard, and even with a crossguard, that's one of your weakest points because you're holding it out for your opponent. So as long as they're not, like, I suppose with the Jedi, they're probably moving around a lot more, because that's the thing with Jedi is because of their ability to jump around and move super fast. Like, their fighting style completely changes, and they can get away with some things. Like, reverse grips are so dumb. Like, they should never be done in movies, except in Star Wars movies. Well, okay, some Star Wars movies. If you're using, like, Form 5, which is, like, strong, it's like what Kylo Ren and Rey use, and what Vader and Luke use. Kylo Ren and Rey have a bit more, but one of their cores of their form is Form 5. Probably not trained in it, but that's what they naturally just use. So them using a reverse grip is extremely stupid. But someone who's using Form 4, which is the, like, acrobatic form where you're jumping around and you're just jumping around. It's like Yoda. Yoda is, like, an extreme end of Form 4 where it's all acrobatic. And then there's the other end, which is, like, Qui Gon Jin, who he seems to incorporate a bunch of Form 5 too, um, which seems a bit contradictory, but he's got like the offensive, relentless, and kind of quick nature. He's kind of light on his feet. Um, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, those are like the two opposite ends of Form 4. And Ahsoka leans kind of more towards Yoda, which is why she can get away with using a reverse grip sometimes. I still think it's kind of dumb, but it's not as dumb as normal. In cross guards, where was I going with this? Oh, cross guards. Because you're moving around a lot more, you're probably not going to be able to get hit in the hand quite as much. But it would still be extremely helpful, at least in a lightsaber to lightsaber duel. Blaster to blaster duel, maybe not so much. Maybe it would just get in the way. I don't know. But I mean, then you could just turn it off. So, I don't know. I would, if I redesign my lightsaber, I would put crossguards on it. But speaking of my lightsaber, it's actually in my logo is my lightsaber right between the Jasom and Jensai. And I got a closer picture of the hilt over on the left of the screen, as you can see. I've got the hilt circled in red, and there's the hilt shown more close up. So it's a lot like Qui Gon's. It's basically just a simple tube. It's kind of simple. And it's got a green blade, of course. But yeah, but the black stuff isn't like a plasticky or a metallic kind of material. It's more of like a rubber. So it's got like a really nice grip to it. Which I think that type of grip would work really well in a lightsaber. Maybe other Jedi disagree, but that's just what I think. And the other thing about it is I don't know, it's just super sleek lightsaber. So that's my design. If I redesign it, which I probably should, now that I think about it, I should definitely add crossguards to it somewhere. I don't know, because that would really mess with the sleekness of it. And it just wouldn't look good if I just added a crossguard section. In Kylo's, there's like a giant crossguard section. It juts out and then branches off into the two giant tubes. And it's more so, this actually isn't Kylo Ren's official lightsaber. Maybe he uses it in episode 9 or something. But his official one is more beat up looking. But the reason I chose Kylo Ren's is just because of the crossguards. So, yeah. But yeah, this is so far what mine looks like. It's pretty cool. It's in my logo. Tell me in the comments what you think. What are your favorite kinds of lightsabers? Would you use just a standard lightsaber, or would you use a special double-sided or curved, or what would you use? What would your lightsaber be like? What are your favorite ones? Yeah. So then the next part of the stream, the last part of the stream, is how skilled is Count Dooku? So, obviously, Dooku is a Sith Lord. He's trained by Sidious, but Anakin is his replacement. He was never really supposed to be the apprentice. He was just a placeholder. But at the same time, he's the leader of the Separatists. And he's been trained by Yoda and Darth Sidious, two of the greatest masters of their time. He's seen as one of the greatest lightsaber duelists. He's seen as a powerful telekinetic. He masters force lightning. So how powerful is he? So, Count Dooku, in terms of power, I would say he's not that strong. He does have a lot of power, but it's not something where Yoda or Sidious, they're throwing Senate pods all around. He's lifting a bunch of sand and putting it in between a locking mechanism to open it. He's more subtle. And that's the same thing in his lightsaber combat too. He doesn't have a ton of strength. He's not like a Darth Vader, just wearing down his opponents, just battering them. He's not a Savage, knocking. In fact, when he faces Savage, maybe he faces him more than once, but in his duel with Savage and Ventress, he like he's like using Savage as cover from Ventress, which is actually a really helpful tactic. It is excellent. It's so good. But he's using that tactic. He's using Savage as a shield, getting him in between Ventress and him, or Ventress and himself. So Savage is attacking him, and he's not even trying to block. He's just dodging, which is good because when Savage finally lands a hit, it knocks Count Dooku across the room, and he drops his lightsaber. So that kind of show, like, sure, Savage is really strong, but against someone of more medium strength, like Obi-Wan, he might get knocked back, but he would probably stay on his feet. But Dooku gets knocked back, disarmed, the whole thing. Anakin is able to pretty easily overpower him, in terms of strength, not in. He does in skill, but it's not. He doesn't easily outscale him. So yeah, Dooku is not super strong, but where he's best though is in his balance, I would say. And that I mean that in multiple different ways. For one, he's got an extremely good stance at all times. It's not like an aggressive stance like Anakin's. He's not like, or like Luke's, like not a Form 5 stance. He's not like leaning forward, ready to lunge forward and smash you with your lightsaber. It's not like a retreating stance. I don't know why you would want that kind of stance, but yeah, he doesn't have that kind of stance. He's got more of a balance. He can move in any direction. He can sway around. He can transition into a whole different style of combat, which is the other thing that he's balanced with, is he doesn't just use his lightsaber. He doesn't just use the Force. He uses both those and also physical abilities. Not so much in the movies, but especially in the Clone Wars, and especially against Obi-Wan, who is, of course, weak to that kind of thing. He almost never blocks that kind of attack. Well, he blocks it with his face, and his body, and all that, which is, he's extremely tough, is what I'm trying to say. But he doesn't block it with, brushing it aside with his arm, or holding up his arm and blocking it with his shoulder. He just kind of gets hit by it. Which is, of course, why Dooku is able to take him out every time. In his duel, not his duel in episode 2. In his duel in episode 2, he's just playing with him. Mando would probably tell him to quit playing with his food, which he probably shouldn't have done, because Anakin was able to get up and block the lightsaber strike going down to kill Obi-Wan. He did that in time, and then he played with Anakin for a bit before cutting off his arm, and then Yoda walked in and made him retreat. If he had killed Anakin there, he might have survived. Probably not. Well, yeah, probably not. I'll get into my theory about what would happen if Anakin was out of the picture later. It's not a super interesting theory. It's just probably something I'll cover later. Hey, Noah. How are you? So yeah, we're talking about Count Dooku, of course, extremely skilled. Not so much strong, but extremely skilled. He's got a lot of balance. He's got a very good stance, a very neutral stance, ready to do pretty much anything, and he does pretty much anything. He does lightsaber strikes, he does force lightning, and of course telekinesis too. He does force powers, and he does physical combat too. So he's got kicks. He uses that a lot in his fight against Savage and Ventress, especially. Well, he doesn't kick Savage. That probably wouldn't work. He kicks Ventress a few times. But what he does against Savage is teach him force lightning, which is something interesting about that. Yeah, I'm doing good too. So yeah, something interesting about Savage and force lightning is Count Dooku never teaches Savage how to use or how to block force lightning. So every time Dooku shoots force lightning at him, and I'm sure if Sidious shot force lightning at him, he just gets hit by it. It's so funny. I don't know if funny is the right word, but it's kind of cool that Dooku like left that like an opening for him to attack by not teaching him how to stop Force lightning. So yeah, so he's Force lightning Savage. He's kicking Ventress all the time during that battle. My favorite like physical move he does is in his battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's specifically the one on I'm forgetting the name, Obadiah, the Pike Syndicate like homeworld. And he like knocks like Obi-Wan over the edge almost. Obi-Wan catches on, pulls himself back up, and then he runs over. They engage in a brief amount of combat before Count Dooku like grabs him with like it's called an underhook in wrestling. It might be an underhook. It's kind of quick. I don't really know exactly what he does, but he basically gets under Obi-Wan, probably under his shoulder, and throws him over, and he like rolls. What's in the background? Count Dooku. Oh, the sounds. Are you talking about the sounds? So yeah. Anyways, Count Dooku is extremely powerful. Well, not extremely. Compared to like Sidious, he's not really that powerful. But compared to like your average Jedi, he's probably, I think powerful is the wrong word, which is why I had skilled here it's in the thumbnail and in the picture here that I'm using. Skilled, I think, is the word to describe him. Because that's just, he's not so much powerful as he is just using his power correctly, which I think is awesome. That's like my favorite type of combat. Isn't just having power, but being able to apply that power correctly. So yeah, what do you think of Count Dooku? Like, how does he compare to other characters? Would he be able to beat like Mace Windu? Or would he be able to take on what about Snoke? How does he compare to him? What's a character like Anakin? Like, how powerful do you think, like, obviously Anakin would beat him, but how much do you think that is because Anakin's style matches up against Dooku's, and like he's able to beat him because of that versus just Anakin being more powerful? So like, how does he compare to those other characters? Personally, I put him like probably right about Mace Windu's level, maybe a little bit below, maybe a little bit above, depending on the day. I think Mace Windu would beat him in lightsaber combat, but there's a decent chance that Dooku would be able to surprise Mace Windu with a really well placed counter. For example, Windu like comes in and Dooku like steps back and stabs forward or something and gets Windu. Or Windu's about to take him out when Dooku like throws his hand a bit off course. He misses, and then Dooku like cuts him there or hits him with Force lightning, or even if Dooku like kicks him or like punches him or something. Because Dooku, for being an old man, he does that a lot. Yeah, so I would say he's about as skilled as Windu. Depends on the terrain, depends on the circumstances, like who's more emotionally invested. Yeah, that's about where I see him as. I would say it's hard to say whether he would beat Snoke. I think Snoke would be able to beat him just because if Snoke is gonna beat people because he can simply overpower them. Like, he doesn't have a lightsaber. There's not much nuance he can have in his fights. It's just gonna be, can I outforce push you, or can I get this lightning past you, or past your blade, or past your True Menace if you're like a Yoda type person. And I think Snoke would be able to take out Dooku simply because he'd be able to overpower him before Dooku can close the distance. And although then again, Snoke doesn't have any defense against Force lightning. Well, actually, he probably does. He might have True Menace. But for all we know, he doesn't have any defense against Force lightning, and Dooku might just start out with that and be able to take him out. I don't know. That'd be an interesting battle to see. I'd love to see more of Snoke's powers. And like how powerful he is. Yeah. About Sidious, I would say he would beat Sidious very rarely. He'd have to have really good circumstances and get really lucky. But in terms of like how he compares to Sidious, although he would almost never beat him, I think he's close to being as deadly as him. Like as close as someone can get to Darth Sidious without living 900 years. Or being the chosen one. But yeah, he's really skilled. There's not really like a quantitative way I can say how skilled he is, but I think I've pretty much summed up how skilled I think Count Dooku is. So with that, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Unless you guys have any questions or anything else you want to talk about. Like if you want to talk about, I don't know, Star Wars Episode 6, what I think about Ewoks or something. I don't know. So leave those in the chat. I'll kind of stall for time a bit to give you time to leave something in the chat. But yeah. So yeah, it's been a pretty good stream. We talked about Mandalorian Chapter 11, super cool episode. Yeah, there was a lot of plot reveals that connect back to outside of Star Wars that bring those into Mandalorian and are going to have a huge impact on that show. Obviously, there was a lot of like rumors that were kind of spoiling everything for us, so that kind of sucks. But it's cool to see it confirmed. I mean, I knew who was Ahsoka, that they were referring to Ahsoka when Bo-Katan said that she would lead Mando to a Jedi, but it's cool to see or cool to hear the name drop. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Then there's all of the, here, I can go through the things. By the things, I mean the pictures. So yeah, so there's also the coolest lightsaber hilts. Personally, I really like very slim and sleek and simple designs. And also crossguards are awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of cool lightsaber, but I like the more simple ones. I don't know. I just think it's more, it's not overly complex. The other ones, they're cool, but they're overly complex for me. And finally, we talked about how skilled Count Dooku is, and he's pretty skilled. Probably about the level of Mace Windu, in my opinion. But with that, that's going to be an end for the stream. So thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you, always.